everyone, and welcome to Clowns in Conversation. I'm Naomi Schaefer. I'm the Executive Director of Clowns Without Borders, and I'm so excited to be here today with Carolina, CoiCoi, Duncan, Page, and also Paúl Gomex. We are here today to talk about the UN's Universal Day of the Child, the rights of the child, and also clowning and what it means to create a clown piece with a social message in mind. But enough about me. CoiCoi, do you want to start by saying where you are and who you are and a little bit about your clown?
Hello, everyone. I'm Carolina Duncan, and my clown name is CoiCoi. Right now, I'm in Colombia, South America, in the Caribbean part, the Atlantic Ocean. CoiCoi was born at a fairy gathering, and from then I started doing independent circus, like traveling from festival to festival with a circus/theater company, and we did our shows, and that's where I started mostly doing character work combined with circus. And then I entered Clown Conservatory in Circus Center, and there I studied like with Dominique Jandot, Jeff Ras, Changhan, a bunch of amazing teachers, William Hall, that just taught me a bunch about improvisation and play. Lots of kinesthetic, moving the energy from one place to the other and having a point of view and making it interesting and fun. And yeah, connecting with the clown. At the Clown Conservatory, I found myself more building like from the outside in. And then I moved on to work with James Duncan, where I started to do mostly the work of the clown from the inside out. So right now, I would say CoiCoi, it's very much a part of me. It's not a construct or a character that lives outside. It's something that comes from the deepest part of myself. And that's the exploration of the clown, is finding like all of the good things and then all of the shadow and combining that and finding a way of living in harmony with everything when everything goes wrong in a way. And so I would say that my clown is a humanistic clown. I just care for humans, and I believe in the well-being, like the goodness of us all. And my clown CoiCoi is very much in the innocent realm of the innocence. Although I do have points of view that are political, and so in my plays, because I do theater and festivals for clowns, I talk about political issues that matter to me and that I think could impact and create reflection upon the audience. And I think that all art could and has the potential for being transformational, not only for the artist, but for those who are living it. And so making it intentional is really important for me as an artist, to have my work be something that has the audience reflect upon something that could be beneficial for all of us.
Well, my name is Paúl Gomex. I was born in Venezuela in a shiny morning of 1981, and well, I'm just very excited to be here with you girls. It's really cool. Technology is amazing. I've been clowning for professionally, which means earning a living with clowning since 2003. When I took my juggling stuff and went out to a public place in Mérida, Venezuela, to start passing the hat, pasando la gorra, like you say in Spanish, 17 years ago. Before that, I did have some experiences performing with collective, but as pure mere only clowning. It all started there back in 2003, and it's been a long way. Learning with different people who was part of this circus boom of Venezuela, Argentinian performers, mainly Latin American street performers who came and in a very informal way transmitted their knowledge. Also, I believe that one of the main ways that we that it all starts for many of us, it's through observation, and that gives us inspiration. And that was those were beautiful years for me in that, again, in that boom of Venezuelan circus arts. Then in 2007 I moved to Belgium and I did studies. I studied with Carina Bonan, which was my main clown teacher, and Micheline Van de Poel, people of the Espace Catastrophe in Brussels, and also living that big cultural shock for my clown, coming from a Latino environment. In Latino street shows, you speak a lot through your show, and you say what you're gonna do. And the Belgian school of clowning is very, I mean, I call it minimalistic, very little detail oriented, and it's more like indoor space, like a teatro de sala, like for closed space. And you invest way less energy and you can focus on very little detail. And it took me a while to figure that out, and it took me lots of study, but I'm glad that I could like tune into that frequency. And in Belgium is where I discovered Clowns Without Borders. I remember I was celebrating my first birthday in Brussels, in the middle of that first summer tour, and there was this huge music festival, and I saw the icon, like the logo of Clowns Without Borders, and I was like, oh wow, they're here. And I went there, and it was like this magnet thing. Like I saw one of these fools who basically grabbed my hand and pulled me to the stand where Luc Nicolas, the president by those days, he was sitting and he was taking information for potential volunteers, and that was like that magic first spark officially with Clowns Without Borders. And since then, I just I haven't stopped, because I found lots of sense for my artistic endeavors in connecting that with social purpose. And it's like, yes, I mean, all art we're all political beings and we're all social beings, and all art is social. But the impact of what I've seen of the work we do with this association, and in terms also of international cooperation, is one of the reasons that still has me here after all these years.
So we're here today in part because on Friday, which is the 20th of November, is the World Children's Day, and it is also commemorates the UN General Assembly adopting the Declaration of the Rights of the Child. And that's the declaration that CWB operates under, both children having the right to education, but also the right to play. And I know you both have performed for traditional circuses, for paying audiences, and also for Clowns Without Borders for non-paying audiences and communities who are either displaced or have experienced a crisis. And I'm wondering if you could each share a story of performing for children in a Clowns Without Borders show. What's a moment that that's a golden moment and stands out?
Well, in El Salvador, what I mostly remember is like the elderly sitting behind and then all the kids in the front. And I just like playing with this combination of generations, like bringing both generations together and seeing how the old man and the little kid can interact with something that that I was doing with the hat. It was something simple, but then a game, and then we were all three playing together, and also thank you, and also like the most memorable thing is when leaving the schools or wherever we're leaving the place we performed at, the kids always run behind the bus and they're like, don't leave, and you just want to stay playing. I mean, that's unlike on a general note, but there's so much juice, so much play that happens when you're there in a different culture, just sort of inviting kids to think in a different way, maybe to repeat a song or come clapping, or you create an imaginary wall and you break it and then you're there with them, and it's entering that space of playfulness and innocence with the kids, and that's been my experience. Also, just to add, like here in Colombia, when Clowns Without Borders, when Clowns Without Borders was here in the Caribbean coast in Barranquilla, audience just remember, like it's a reference for me and a point of reference for the people here. Wherever they see me, they're like, oh, you're the clown with Clowns Without Borders. And muy profesional, like something that Aline from Brazil used to say, stuck with them in their mind. And one thing is that we try to blend music, and so music connects with the memory, and we're creating memories. We think that we're just going to a place and then leaving, but no, we're leaving there, like this connection, these songs that they can sing whenever they remember that clown. And I think that's a beautiful gift and exchange that happens.
I remember so clearly the first time I saw a clown, and I had this feeling that I was the only person in the audience. And he was doing a simple mime act. He whistled for a dog. It was maybe all that happened was he went, and I had this moment of, I'll never forget what it felt like to be invited into someone else's imagination and into an adult's imagination. And that, so yeah, the memories.
I just want to connect with what Koi was saying of creating memories, and it's performing arts is that, very underrated in that sense, and also in our world that we work with so many people that like to measure impact of our actions. It's like, well, how do you measure the ephemeral? Well, we're creating memories. We're creating memories that will last for a lifetime, and those memories are yours. Can become your safe place when you're in a crisis. When you're in a crisis, as any type of person, and either you're in a refugee camp or you're back home as a performer. We all have our ups and downs, and I think those moments that clown create, those moments in which we can connect with our playful self, those moments are precious and are to be treasured, and definitely not to be under, we have to hold them. I just think I just have so many memories that are so beautiful and intense. Mainly La Parade, the parade, when the clowns arrive, and they're definitely not expected, and how children, it's like instinctively know what is going to happen, and it's like that missing part, that the clowns bring one part and the kids bring the other part, and then the adults that are part of that community, they just witness and follow, and then you have adults following children and fools into this parenthesis, into this beautiful moment in which no one is thinking much, and we're just all being kids, we're just all being family, we're just all being a very simple and beautiful example of what a community can be, and how we can all just play together and hold together this lightness of spirit. The show installs itself in an empty space, in a place that could be like a soccer field, or like the square of a refugee camp, or And then it all starts, and the clowns that underneath the clown, there's a highly skilled street performer or just a performer starts just doing all the tech parts to figure out that everybody's gonna be safe, you know, and then you have the big circle, you have the ring for the circus, and the little kids are in front, and sometimes, you know, like, I mean, I have very intense memories of performing in a Burmese refugee camp, and the majority of the kids, they in French you say unijambiste, it's like kids who are one leg is missing because of landmines, and underneath the clown there is this shocked human, you know, but because you're in like acting mode, like in performance mode and in playful mode, you just like keep holding that performative tension and playfulness, and you just realize you're taking in basically like a huge life lesson as you go with the performance. When you see these kids like, and these adults who are missing a bunch of teeth, just like laughing like crazy, you know, and that you're like, okay, am I conducting this show, or am I just like part of this invisible force that is gathering us all together, you know? And then of course when it's over, it's like, well, we're adults and we're not that new, so it's our mind that starts like trying to give meaning to all the things that we go through. It's a little bit more dense, but what we're talking about today is the right of children, to be playful, and something that I just want to underline is how children can just like show adults that they also have the right to be playful, you know.
You two have both been working with Clowns Without Borders and Corporación Humor Y Vida on a project in Ecuador. It's a virtual project making short videos that are connected to a very different type of child right. So not only the right to play, but also the right to safety, specifically physical safety. And so you know, I know that Clowns Without Borders has sometimes worked on making a clown show about topics. I worked creating a clown show about landmine safety, and it's a really hard balance to go between the clown instinct and then the list of, okay, what's the lesson plan, what are the talking points. And so far we've worked on making videos from two themes. One, the prevention of family violence, and the other of preventing sexual violence towards children. For anyone who's listening, that is going to be, those are the topics that we'll be talking about for the next 20 minutes. So if that's a topic you feel uncomfortable listening to, thank you for watching this far. It's a good time to leave. We'll be adding some resources if you want to know more about facts of violence against children, both globally and then also specifically in Ecuador, since that's where this program has been focused. But Koi and Paul, I'd love to know sort of a little bit about that process of creating a clown piece and bringing clown energy into a topic, into such a heavy topic.
I just find that the entire process was really fascinating. But they had the initiative to bring in the clowns to touch something that is so delicate, such a delicate subject as children abuse. And I find it very smart that they connected with Clowns Without Borders. There is an association that uses clowning as a vehicle for bringing levity and resilience. I just want to talk a little bit about the process. The process involved, us as creative minds, and before clowns, just people that has training as actors and that has this sensitivity about how to tune in clowning into like a way that can connect both children and adult towards a specific theme. And big component was also a team of psychologists that was working in Ecuador and that were also like advising the main team of Humor Y Vida. So in that sense, I think it was a very complete team composed with social workers, psychologists, and performers, clowns. I think the use of clowning as a tool to connect adults with their inner child is something that is crucial about this project. I think, I mean, I don't want to get into these weeds because basically I'm not a psychologist, but I do know a little about childhood wounds, you know, and this is something that and the inner child, you know. I think for parents, it's to see this message being brought with this in this quality can be a good way to connect with their own inner child. And I think that's a dimension that is very, very, I think they really hit the spot, our friends of Humor Y Vida. And both themes are very important and very actual for the conditions of the pandemic, who had people living in the same place, basically locked in constantly. And in many of these households, it's like children living with their abuser without the capacity to speak or leave, not even to school, not even to play with your friends. You know, you have to always stay there. It's something that we spoke in the creative table was like, what's going to be like our call to action? What's going to be our call to action? And that's one thing that was very important. It's like, oh yeah, there is this message that is delivered, this very delicate subject that is delivered with playfulness, and at the end there's like a concrete message. If you have been in this situation, you have the right to speak up and contact and speak to someone. Do it. And I think that was very important. I want to, because CoiCoi is here, I just want to, I don't know how to say, quitarme el sombrero frente a esta muchacha tan creativa. I was very happy to work with you, CoiCoi, and always very surprised of how you were bringing this extremely this spark of ideas in the midst of the creation process that were so on the spot, and it was really a great honor to work with you. Of course, I mean, it was great. I'm very happy that we got to do this.
A question of if there's any clown training you had to unlearn to think about to clown for vulnerable audiences, or if you feel like there's a difference of performing for an audience who you know has experienced a crisis, or you know you're there because of a certain social situation. Is there what's different? I think the other way I wish I had asked this question is sometimes at Clowns Without Borders, we say we let the child lead. I think of it as like, if clowning is a conversation, the audience speaks first and the child speaks first. And I'm wondering if that's something that resonates with you, and what it's like to let the children lead.
It makes me think of hierarchy and how we live in this paradigm where hierarchy takes a really strong place in our lives, in society, in our families, in the way we interact with each other. And then suddenly there's this horizontal playfulness that can happen that breaks this paradigm, and it just sort of becomes like a circle. And that's the circus, and that's the circle of life, and we're all connected through that. And I think that the clown just sort of like simply with that little red nose is that little circle that just sort of opens up this network of like, okay, here we are, what are we gonna play? And you listen. Yeah, like the first thing is to listen to the playfulness, and so it's just changing that structure. I think the first step for a clown to allow play to come from another place, and then that is not themselves generating it, of being like, you must watch me. It's just sort of like it's spreading a little bit. Yes, every situation, visiting a hospital is different than visiting a jail, is different than visiting a plaza. So each place molds the way that the clown adapts to play with that participant, because we understand that the kids that are there, they're participants. And then I'm just simply reacting and responding to that reality in which I'm invited. And that's the other thing, like we gotta remember that we are so blessed, we are just so humbled to be invited into these scenarios that we would normally not go if we weren't clowns. And so we're there for the simple fact that we're clowns, and that immediately is like, wow, thank you for inviting me to your reality. Even if it's a reality that is harsh, you have so much to teach in just your life experience, and to give them the opportunity to share their stories with you, to really take like their lives matter.
Thank you. Paul, now are you gonna make me cry?
Oh man. Wow, Koi, yeah. I just kind of, I'm still taking in what she just said. I just think, it's just to be present and to be playful, and to allow for that dimension to exist. I think that's for me, that's our work. And I think Koi's message was really round and complete. I just can like complete a little bit what she was saying, when you, Koi, say that about like allowing them to also bring something, like to express themselves somehow, is this component of what we do. Of for many of these communities, when you perform for displaced communities, they're basically surviving in a random space, in a random space. And when you create these stages out of the blue, that all of a sudden you perform and you create this dynamics and this dimension of a show, then you just leave the space for them to do anything they want in that stage, and when that happens, it's like, well, you are witnessing a social group be like shine, like bloom again. When you see dancers from a community that they forgot that they were dancers, or like singers or storytellers, or stand-up comedians that and then you finish the show, and then you call the translator in, and you tell the translator, okay, can you please translate this? We are just opening the stage for whoever wants to perform. And then it's like, this is like so common that everybody starts pointing at that one person, because they know who that person was, who that person is, who that person still is somewhere. And then this person jumps on stage, and they're doing their thing, and then you sit on the audience, and this couldn't exist without that first spark, So I think that's one of the most important aspects of this work, is to be able to open that dimension for that town to exist again in a different location, for that soul to bloom again, to come to the surface one more time.
We're going to close by watching one of the videos. First, we're just going to take a couple breaths together so I can just think about that. Okay. It's good with the pandemic. I don't get as many opportunities to cry in public, but the great thing about interviewing clowns once a week is I still can feel that excellent part of my personality. So
Cuando algún extraño algo me quiere regalar, a alguien de confianza yo le voy a avisar. Si mis partes íntimas me quieren tocar, a alguien que me quiera yo le voy a contar. Si alguien que conozco me obliga a mentir, a alguien de confianza yo le voy a decir. Si alguien cercano me lastima al jugar, a alguien de confianza yo le voy a avisar. Si me toman fotos y me hace incomodar, a alguien que me quiera yo le voy a contar, porque me quiero cuidar.
So, Paúl, CoiCoi, thank you so much. Audience on Facebook Live, thank you so much. Today, this week, and always, we're reflecting on the rights of the child, and November 20th is the day celebrating the rights of the child.